Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we break down the biggest corporate secrets. And today we are diving into Regal Rexnord Corporation's latest annual report. This is where they lay out everything about their business for the year, and let me tell you, there are some big moves and even bigger numbers in here. So buckle up because we are about to decode what it all means for their future. And hey, before we jump in, if you love getting these straight up insights from financial reports, make sure you are subscribed. We also have a super helpful Discord community linked in the description below where we chat about these filings, Regal Rexnord Corporation annual report on Form 10K for year ended the 31st of December, 2025 scroll. Alright, so first off we are looking at Regal Rexnord Corporation's annual report for the year that ended the 31st of December 2025. Think of this as their yearly checkup report card. They are telling us how they did and what they are planning. They operate in a few key areas: power transmission control and efficiency solutions. So pretty much anything that makes machines move or makes them work better. One of the biggest things that stands out is they sold off a chunk of their business in April 2024. This was their industrial motors and generators part. This means they are really changing things up, focusing more on their core strengths. This sale pretty much got rid of a big piece of what they used to call their industrial systems segment. Now, on the flip side, they made a huge acquisition in March 2023. They bought a company called Ultra Industrial Motion Corporation, and this was a massive deal costing them over $5 billion. This acquisition really beefed up their automation and power transmission parts of the business, giving them access to new markets and technologies, especially in factory automation. It sounds like they are really trying to be a one-stop shop for anything that gets stuff moving and controlled. Let's get into the numbers because that is where the real story often is. For the year ending the 31st of December 2025, their total sales were about $5.9 billion. Now that is a slight dip from the $6 billion they brought in during 2024. They explain this dip is mainly because of that sale of the industrial motors and generators business, which took about $158 million off the books. But here is the interesting part: their organic sales, which means sales from their existing businesses without counting acquisitions or sales from divested parts, actually went up by about 0.8%. This means the core business is still growing, which is a good sign. Their gross profit, which is what is left after they pay for the materials and labor to make their products, also saw a nice increase. It went up by about 1.2% to $2.2 billion. This is great because it means they are becoming more efficient or perhaps passing some costs along to customers. The Industrial Powertrain Solutions segment really shined here with a significant jump in gross profit. When we look at their income from operations, that is what they make before interest and taxes, that also went up. It increased by about 8.2% to $680.8 million. This tells us their core business operations are becoming more profitable. They had a particularly strong showing in the Power Efficiency Solutions segment, which saw a big jump in its operating income percentage. Now looking back at 2023, we see a pretty significant number here, a goodwill impairment of $57.3 million. This usually happens when a company overpaid for an acquisition and the value of that acquired business has fallen. For Regal Rexnord, this was related to their Global Industrial Motors reporting unit. It is a reminder that big acquisitions always carry risk, and sometimes you just do not get the value you expected. Speaking of goodwill, their total goodwill on the books at the end of 2025 was a colossal $6.6 billion. Goodwill is basically the premium a company pays over the fair value of the net assets acquired in a business combination. So a huge chunk of their assets are tied up in the value they believe they gained from past acquisitions, especially that big Ultra deal. This means they need these acquisitions to keep performing well for these numbers to make sense long term. Remember that massive Ultra deal from 2023? Well, it came with a hefty price tag in terms of integration costs. In 2023 alone, they spent $86.9 million on legal and professional fees and integration efforts. That is a significant investment just to get the two companies working together smoothly. They also incurred another $23.5 million in 2024 for these costs. Now, every company reports its risks, and Regal Rexnord lists quite a few. They are worried about supply chain issues like not getting key materials from single suppliers and how fluctuations in the price of raw materials like copper and aluminum can hurt their profits. They're also keeping a close eye on trade policies and tariffs, especially with countries like China and India. The evolving landscape of artificial intelligence is also a concern they mention. They think companies that do not keep up with AI might fall behind, and like most modern companies, they are acutely aware of cybersecurity threats. They talk a lot about how its system failures or breaches could really disrupt their business and lead to financial losses and damage their reputation. This is a constant battle for almost every company today. Taxes are always a big deal too. They are dealing with different tax laws in many countries, and any changes could hit their bottom line hard. They are also watching new global tax rules like the OECD's minimum tax framework, which could impact their international operations. And for investors, the market is telling us that their stock price can be pretty wild. They acknowledge that their stock price has been and could continue to be very volatile due to many factors, including economic conditions, competitor actions, and even just general market sentiment. Interestingly, their report has its own section on cybersecurity detailing how they are tackling cyber threats. They have a whole program built around governance, technical safeguards, and educating their employees. This shows how seriously they are taking these risks. They have dedicated teams and training programs to keep their systems safe. So looking at the overall financial tables for 2025, their net sales came in just under $6 billion compared to 2024 sales. We're down slightly by about 1.6%. This is largely attributable to that business sale we talked about earlier, taking away about $158 million in sales. Their gross profit improved a bit to $2.2 billion. This means they are managing their costs well, even with some market pressures. Their operating income is healthy at $680.8 million, showing their core businesses are performing well. Now let's talk about debt. As of the end of 2025, their total debt was around $4.8 billion. That is a significant amount. A big part of this is their senior notes, which total $4.7 billion. They are actively working to pay down debt, especially after that large acquisition. However, they still have a substantial amount of financial obligations. Looking ahead, they have significant debt payments due over the next 5 years and beyond. This is something investors always watch closely. They are projecting over $5.8 billion in debt payments over various periods. This shows they need to keep generating strong cash flow to manage these obligations. Overall, their total assets are valued at almost $14 billion. This is a massive company with a lot of resources. Finally, let's talk about profit. For 2025, they had a net income of $279.5 million. That is a solid increase from the previous year. It shows that even with the business sale and the integration of Ultra, they are finding ways to be profitable. So what is my take on Regal Rexnord? They are clearly in a massive transformation. Selling off parts of the business while buying others suggests a strategic shift towards more specialized and potentially higher margin areas like automation and efficiency solutions. The Ultra acquisition is a huge bet, and its success is critical given the amount of debt they took on. The fact that their organic sales are growing even with the divestiture is a positive sign for their core operations. However, managing nearly $5 billion in debt is no small feat, and their ability to consistently generate cash and pay down that debt will be key to their long-term financial health. They face significant operational and market risks, but their focus on innovation and efficiency in their chosen segments seems to be paying off. They are a company in transition, actively shaping its future, and while there are challenges, they are making strategic moves to stay competitive. Alright, that is our deep dive into Regal Rexnord's latest annual filing. What is your take on their strategy and financial health? Do you think the Ultra acquisition will pay off, or are the risks too high? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more corporate disclosures decoded. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.